Welcome to the Bright Commerce Podcast.
Episode 19, Marketing Funnels That Actually Work. I'm Carlos Caneja, your host, sitting alongside of Judd Dunagan, who's your co-host.
Hello.
How you doing today, Judd?
I'm doing fine, Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. And today we have a special guest. It's Austin Lovvorn, Mr. Lovvorn, as I like to call him.
Yeah, Lovvorn, however you want to say it.
Give us an intro, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your company and what you guys do and all that fun.
Yeah, I am the CEO and co-founder of Orange Curate Media. We have been around for going on 6 years now. Primarily, we now focus in the healthcare and aesthetic space. Before focusing in that, we've kind of taken on a mishmash of all different types of clients, including events. You kind of name it, whatever came across our plate, we kind of took. We also do some white labeling stuff for agencies. My background is working in agencies, going on 17 years now. So yeah, been around the block, seen a lot of growth and a lot of things change over the years.
All right, awesome. So we're glad to have you here today. We're going to be talking about driving traffic, conversion, sales, all that fun stuff to an e-commerce store, right? And this is actually like the hardest part of running an e-com business, right? I always tell people or prospects, I always tell them, hey, building it is actually the easy part. The hard part is getting people to come to your website, right? Because you're just in a sea of fish out there, right? And it's all about getting the attention.
Well, it's also that's a hard part, but it's also hard when they get to your site if they're not converting. That's a whole nother problem.
That's a whole other thing. Yeah. You got to get them on, then you got to get them to buy it once you're on.
Yeah.
All right. So today we're just going to be discussing marketing basics. We're going to be doing some talks about the marketing funnel. We'll be talking about different mediums where you can get traffic from. We'll touch base on tracking and reporting. And let's start with just that. When we talk about what the funnel is, right? A lot of people aren't really aware of what a sales or marketing funnel is. Austin, you want to give us like a general overview?
Yeah. So you look at kind of people talk about the top of the funnel is more of like the awareness of they don't know who you are, and you present them with your product or service, and now they know who you are. And then you kind of trigger them, or you get them to opt in, whether through it's some sort of collateral that you're going to give them, an offer or whatever it is. And then they kind of go through a next step, which you call a middle of the funnel. And in the middle of the funnel, you now have the ability to contact them if you have their email address. Send them an offer, kind of run them through what we call like a drip campaign through email. Also, middle of the funnel, if you captured their information via a cookie on your website, you can then remarket them and kind of run them through a remarketing campaign, which is middle of the funnel. Bottom of the funnel is kind of where they convert, or you convert them into a customer. So that's kind of what I would say is a very basic way to explain the funnel. We can kind of go into each step along the way, but that's kind of the basic explanation of that.
Yeah, different platforms are better for which level of the funnel you're at, right? Like, and of course, we're going to get into this, but the way you market on Meta or TikTok is completely different on how you market or run a campaign on Google.
Oh yeah. So, you call it the push and pull effect. So push is more of like the interruption, right? Somebody's scrolling on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok, and they're looking at funny cat videos or pictures of their kids or whatever it is. And you're pushing your message in front of them and interrupting them. Pull, on the other hand, is they're searching for your product or service, and you're pulling them into you based on their search intent.
So I never looked at push or pull. Yeah, I'm sorry, Judd. What's that?
I was gonna say, like back in the day when traditional marketing was done, remember like magazines, boards, and all that kind of stuff, phone, radio. Yeah, you used to have to touch someone like 5 times in order to get them to convert. That was kind of like the how much you'd have to go in all these places to get them. Now, because of the internet, I heard the minimum was 15 times. So the likelihood of someone converting, they'd have to see your ad 15 times at all various places in order for you to convert. That's the average. So if you're advertising just in Google and not in Facebook or not in TikTok, your likelihood of converting is going to go down a lot less than if you're like, I would say, advertising in multiple channels. And that's like the thing that Austin was talking about, the push and pull, or, when they're, traveling around, making sure that you're hitting them each place till they actually convert. That's the part that I think has gotten really tough over the years.
Yeah, and it's funny on this day and age when you visit a site and you don't convert. Next thing you know, you're getting text messages or you're being followed. I'm sorry, what?
Everything.
Everything. You're being followed on every website that you go to, every social media platform you visit. You can tell who does it right and who doesn't. That's for sure. Let's start off with like some top of the funnel platforms. For example, TikTok, and TikTok is just very hot right now, right? Austin, tell us about it. Why, what's like the big push with TikTok? Like, who do you recommend it to? And give us kind of like a general overview of how you market on TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I recommend TikTok for anyone. TikTok is just a huge traffic source. Pretty much everyone in the US that I know of is on TikTok in some sort of fashion. And just looking at some stats, I mean, it says 71% of TikTok shoppers discover products when they're not even looking to buy. So it's huge.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say, maybe it's just my TikTok. I feel like I got suckered into buying so many like Alibaba pieces of garbage. I got these night vision like binoculars. I don't know if you guys saw them last year for Christmas. I'm like, I'm gonna buy those. I thought it was so cool, and I bought them and I tried them. It was so bad. Like I was very mad because I sent them back. But I think there's a lot. I think impulse buyers in particular on TikTok. At least I know for me, they got me because I usually don't buy. Like I'm very hard to get to buy something. Like I to convert. And I would say TikTok got me so well when it comes to just these one-off projects that your products that some random guy, not even an influencer, some random guy just starts talking about, and all of a sudden has 1,000 views, for that one little product post that he did. That I think that's the secret sauce there.
Yeah, isn't there a saying, I bought it or I saw it on the TikTok store?
Yeah, it's a household saying now. As seen on TikTok, it's like a trending hashtag.
So, Austin, would you say the TikTok platform works best at all levels of the funnel? Or is it more like middle or top of the funnel, being like more awareness?
Yeah, it's the latter. It's more awareness. It's more discovery. We've seen it, once we turn on advertising or start an organic campaign of posting on TikTok for clients, we see their branded searches go up. We see Amazon sales go up. We see, even just traffic to the website go up from other referral sources. It's huge.
I see. So it also plays a big role in attribution is what it comes down to, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I know we're going to get, I was just saying, I know we're going to get this a little bit later in the segment, but you mentioned attribution and UTM attribution and how that works with the funnel. Typically, there's been a lot of changes between server-side tracking, the way, the new iOS updates, things like that. Austin, can you give us a little bit about your thoughts on where tracking was, where it is now, and where you think it's going to be in the future because of privacy and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, from my experience, I would say that it's never going to be one-to-one. You're never going to be able to track things one-to-one, and I'll explain. Every platform wants to take credit. TikTok is going to cookie and see that they served a video to somebody or got a click from somebody, and then you run a meta ad and they get the click or the impression and see that. And then let's say they Google and they click on your Google ad and then they get the purchase. Well, when you look in every platform, and then you see everybody's saying I got a purchase, but in your back end, you only see one purchase. So I'm like, okay, well, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, it worked together. So it's like, okay, well, what did the journey look like? So you can kind of piece it together. You can use some first party data tracking and kind of see, the journey, but it's never going to be one-to-one. You're never going to have 100% clarity on.
And do you use Looker Studio? What are some of the platforms that you build off of to create that visibility for a client?
Yeah, it's Looker Studio. We pull a lot of first-party data, meaning like from the database, from Google Analytics 4. We pull it straight from the platforms like Meta, TikTok, Google. And then we kind of mash it together and kind of get the best story that we can. And, everything's kind of customized to the way that the client wants to see it and the way that they want to interpret it.
Yeah. One thing I learned too about tracking, particularly in Google, is I learned this the hard way. It's the best not to create a bunch of custom events. It's good to use their general generate underscore lead or their normal ones they have, because I think when creating reporting in general, using their base ones, whether it's creating events in Google Tag Manager, whether it's actually using key events in G4, using their standard ones, I would say do at all costs. And then if you have to, create the custom ones, from my experience.
Yeah. And going back to those events and iOS changes, Apple's big on privacy. And each one of these
Yeah.
apps kind of has their own browser. You click on a link, let's say off a Facebook ad, it doesn't go to your Safari or Google Chrome. It still loads that web page within the app. So
Yeah.
Apple said, no, we're not going to share that data through this app and let them collect it. And, pretty
That's
much,
smart.
yeah, it's smart for the user. It's not smart for the advertiser that's
Yeah,
collecting
true.
data. So, that's why there's a big push for first party data. And Judd, you're probably the expert on this, on setting your own servers and, collecting all
Yeah.
that. And I'm sure you've ventured down that rabbit hole, but that's the best way to do it. But I would say that less than 1% of the advertisers out there are actually doing it or doing correctly.
Yeah, it was a lot of painful. There is no college degree that teaches you how to create server or site tracking. And in fact, I remember when Facebook first came out and said that they're starting to do that, they had just some PDF they sent out to advertisers and talked about using Amazon servers or whatever. It took another 8 months after me seeing that to really unravel what it was. State.io is a great one that does a very simple setup to do server side tracking. Like if you want something faster, like when they started 2 years ago, it was a little bit harder. Now they made it so much easier to set up if you have no knowledge of server side tracking, but doing like through a Google servers, that tracking the inputs of a form, for example, you have to set up all the JavaScript, you have to send data layers in. But by doing so, we talked about this before, Carlos, by doing so, I think it's something like 40 to 60% of your budget can be, given back to you. You're throwing a lot of it out the window, because Google, as well as Facebook, as TikTok, even Reddit, LinkedIn, they all have the ability to do server side tracking. So highly suggest it. It will help your conversions by far. But yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Meta even provides direct integration with State now throughout, within their
Yes.
campaign setup.
I switched over to them because it was so much easier. We were doing, the variables and everything in Google Tag Manager, and literally using their integration. It was like a one-click kind of thing, done. Everything was working properly, and I never had to worry about doing maintenance again with it. It's all done within State. That's a great one. Sorry.
Yeah. So Austin, back to you. So I know we're still kind of like on the TikTok side. We're gonna move on to Meta here, but like, give us an example of somebody who would benefit from a TikTok campaign. Like, what kind of product or service you think would do best on this type of platform?
I would say it's more product centric, because TikTok has a whole kind of influencer platform built into it. So you can set up a TikTok shop, which is very similar to setting up an Amazon shop, where you have to submit all your company information and, kind of run through some hoops there to get approved. And once you do, then you have access to all these kind of influencers that can kind of pick up your products and make videos, and you kind of pay them on a commission for that kind of affiliates, and it's all built in and it's all tracked and things like that. So it's very easy once you get through the setup process to kind of pick and invite these people that all they do is create videos all day on TikTok for products and make money off.
That's
Yeah,
where
I
I
think-
got suckered.
Yeah.
I bought like 8 things. Or
Hey,
returns.
Yeah, Austin, like in the past, you would have to like reach out to influencers directly or through like influencers
Yeah.
like marketplace, right? And
Oh,
TikTok
yeah,
has kind of
yeah,
cut that out.
third-party tools and, doing a whole outreach one by
Yeah.
one, DMing and, trying to, send people PayPals and,
Broker deals. Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, it was a nightmare. There was
I
whole
think there's a lot of
agencies
sorry,
formed
go ahead.
around that. Just influencer outreach agencies where they just had an army of people just doing it all day for.
Yeah.
I think also the back then too, you got a lot of people getting paid and not actually producing results, where I think TikTok actually really produces major results for those influencers. So it's a little more safer play than it used to be.
Oh yeah.
So let's move on to Meta. And again, we're just kind of approaching this platform slash funnel. So tell us more about Meta, where it sits in the funnel. Is it more on the top? Is it more in the middle? Is it more on the bottom when people are ready to take action? I think Meta kind of like drills all those, right?
Yeah. Meta is a very interesting platform. And it is still the 800-pound gorilla when it comes to an advertising platform.
And real quick, when we say Meta, we mean Facebook, Instagram, and can we say WhatsApp or not really?
Oh yeah, WhatsApp is huge. The whole ecosystem that Mr. Zuckerberg has acquired over the years is it's huge, and he's been collecting data. Not even data is he's been collecting purchase intent data on people for, I don't know, 20 years now. So that's it's pretty much my generation. I was 20 years old in college, and I was one of the few that could even get on Meta because I had to have my Florida State University email address to even sign up to it.
What, you go that far back with it?
I went and it was a cool way to connect with everybody on campus. It was like, the platform that everybody started using.
Yeah. I was on
And
MySpace because yeah. I was on the lower end of of social media. My wife
Those are
still
just
makes fun
those
of
are
my
those are
page.
platforms. There was MySpace, there was Friendster. Just you know how they say like to be successful with a product or a service, it's not just about bringing the product or the service. It's also timing. The timing was off with those services.
Yeah.
Like Meta just came and did it just right. It was free. It was cool.
I think it was intuitive.
intuitive.
It was
It was the news feed.
Yeah,
the news.
Friendster right away wanted to monetize. MySpace just never went anywhere. It just became stagnant because you got to give it to Mark Zuckerberg. That platform till this day is still very, very relevant.
Yeah.
There has been other platforms that have kind of duplicated what he's done, but I equate it to this. You ever gone to Marshall's or Ross or one of those type of stores where it's like
All the time, yeah.
everything's just in different place. Like you never know what you're going to see. You see people just going through the racks, just going like this, just trying to find the next shirt. You have to look at that as like, that's the news feed on Facebook. And now it's like this. People are
Yeah.
just they call it doom scrolling because
Yeah.
you just never know the next piece of content you're going
To a
to
certain
get.
extent, though, they got those algorithms so fine tuned. It depends how long you watch the video, if you've shared it, if you've saved it as a bookmark, if a friend forwarded it to you and you watched it for a certain amount of time, they're able to pick up on the context of those videos and feed you more of that. Because now they can really analyze. I mean, gosh, what is it? The Andromeda update that just came out on Meta. You don't even have to tell Meta what you want anymore, who you want to target. You can just upload your creatives. Meta will figure it out for you. Like it's just wild. They got it down to a science. I can start a campaign that says, "Hey runners, here's a new shoe for you," and Meta will know who to show it to. I don't have to touch anything in terms of interest groups, age, male or female, nothing. It will automatically do that placement for
Yeah, back in the day, we had to do lookalike audiences and layers of audience interests and demographics and this and that, and, have 15 different campaigns, and we were testing things, and there was 5 to 10 creatives per ad set per campaign. It was just it was like part of my whole business years ago. I was the guy that figured out how to structure campaigns, and now it just knows. You don't have to do any of that. It knows exactly who to target.
I would say
That's
by
kinda
far. Go ahead, Judd. Sorry.
I was just saying that Google, same thing. I don't like the fact that Google's, they've taken away a lot of the ways that you can optimize. It all is really like you're putting it all in their hands, which Facebook's always been that way, I think, in a lot of ways, because the way that they work. Google's now doing the same thing, but that they're throwing money out the window. Like you just know, like the PMAX campaign, you're just chucking money right out. Like it's just going into the ether, YouTube display, and then with PMAX, not to, change subject for Facebook, the way I do like Facebook a little better because PMAX, like if you change anything on a PMAX campaign and it's working, you could literally destroy the campaign. Like like if it all of a sudden starts working, the idea of changing very subtle things is all you can do. But if you could change like an asset group, for example, and think, okay, that's not going to hurt much, but it will take you months sometimes to get it back to where it was just from that one change. Where I think Facebook's a little bit more stable and, managing campaigns or taking more risk in the campaign. I find Google's just kills me in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Austin, give us some good examples. Like who's ideal for a meta campaign? Like e-com brand.
Yeah, I will say that, even though it is probably the smartest advertising platform, that makes it the most competitive. In an auction, you're paying CPM prices that are double, triple, quadruple of a TikTok or a Reddit or one of these secondary platforms. So you do have to have a substantial budget. I would say $100 a day would be minimum, put you at $3,000 a month. And I know, some startups or people just getting going, that's like, am I going to spend $3,000 a month on Facebook and, just
Like
start
going to Vegas.
Yes, it is. But here's a caveat that I say to people all the time, Judd. It's like, you're not just buying impressions or buying ad space, you're buying data. And with that data, you can then make decisions with that data. So
Yeah.
you're buying the intelligence.
I mean, not only that, the reality is you got to be seen. If nobody knows about you, nobody's coming to you. So, it's like, pick your poison, right? Who do you want to give your money to is what it comes down to.
I think one of the major issues is that people, that've been doing it for 15 years have told other people that started doing it a year ago how it was easy for them when it's gotten much harder, it's gotten more competitive, the cost has gone way up. So it's really hard to like tell someone like it's not the same anymore, especially like if you look at even SEO, it's like it's not the same anymore. Like every year it changes, every year it gets harder, every year it might cost more. So it's like to me, it's been a real moving target when it comes to educating clients to let them know like, hey, this is not me. This is Google. This is Facebook. This is their platform that did this. I didn't mess up your campaign. They changed the way they did things, sunsetted the product that was working for you. And now you have a new product that you have to optimize. And it's such a pain in the
Yeah. I mean, listen, that's the name of the game technology though, across like every aspect. We have a customer that's very heavily invested on SEO, and we continuously tell him like, hey, if an algorithm changes and you lose your rankings, you're going to lose all your traffic. I'm like, it's really time that you start diversifying.
Yeah.
Because that day could come, right? And by the time you react and you got a campaign up and running, who knows how much business you lost. And depending on how you run your business,
I know a lot.
Stay up and running.
Well, that's why that goes back to the middle of the funnel. Like, they get all that SEO traffic, or they're buying a lot of meta ads, or you have to make sure you're collecting your data, collecting your email addresses, collecting your cookies, your phone numbers. That way, if one of those eggs in your basket breaks, you can kind of say, I have a couple 100,000 people in my email list. I can just, continue to market it and send out my things through there and not worry about one traffic source that you have no real control over.
Yeah. And if you got a few traffic sources working for you, even two, you should keep exploring. Like some people will just do Google. Some people just do Facebook. Some people do Google and Facebook, but they don't do TikTok. They don't do anything else that might be super relevant to them, that's important. Like even Yelp. I mean, I don't like Yelp too much as a platform. I've tried it myself. It's not great. But in some cases, it might work for, a school. It might work for a lawyer. They might actually get very good leads at a very good cost. Maybe it's not as much from Google or Facebook, but it is, like you said, a way to ensure that you have one channel working at all times.
I think what's his name says that is it Neil Patel? He's like a really popular marketer.
Yeah.
He basically says like, you don't have to be on Google, or you shouldn't just be on Meta. He's like, you got to be everywhere today. And it's true. You got to be everywhere. You got to have a blog. You got to have a newsletter. You got to be on Meta. You got to be on TikTok.
Even for small business. It used to be large businesses. Now it's small businesses for sure. Like, they have to.
And the other caveat is like, don't look at these traffic sources as silos, because it's one user. They're on TikTok scrolling, they're flipping over to Facebook, they're doing a Google search, they're bouncing around. And when you start looking at these sources as silos, you're not getting the right picture. And even like, working for agencies and they hire me to just manage their, let's say, their Meta or their LinkedIn or whatever it is. It's one silo. Now all of a sudden they have another team managing their TikTok, and they have another team managing their Google. I mean, guess what? Every team is like trying to take credit. My Google's really working really, really well, and my LinkedIn's working well. And it's like, the client's like, well, yeah, there's some lift here, but I don't see the lift that everybody's trying to claim. Everybody's claim to fame. So it's almost like you have to look at it like everything needs to work together.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where the UTM, the first visitor, last visitor, all those values, making sure you're tracking right, because that will really help you build the funnel to see, maybe you have to have Google and Facebook on to get the conversion, because you saw first person came through Google, converted through the last one, which was Facebook, or vice versa. And just knowing that both of them had to be on for you to convert, that's important, because you might say, oh, I'm getting everything in Google and turn off Facebook. And then all of a sudden you just pummel down, lose a ton of your leads, thinking that turning one off to save money would actually help you, and it didn't. It made it worse.
All right. So we're gonna move along to Google, specifically Google Shopping. Let's kind of tie it all back to ecom. Austin, tell us a little bit about Google Shopping, how you find it beneficial, what it's good for. Because now you're really talking like bottom of the funnel, right? Maybe middle to bottom of the funnel on this. This is like people that are ready to buy running shoes or a sweatband, whatever the case is, right?
Yeah. So I'll get a little bit technical with Google Shopping. I have a lot of experience with shopping feeds and things like that. Actually help run a couple different Google shopping campaigns and a couple e-commerce stores that are well over 1 million SKUs. And I would say the biggest thing is to make sure that your shopping feed is structured correctly and feeding all the data that Google wants to see correctly. It needs to be categorized correctly. It needs to have the correct descriptions. It needs to have the correct images. And once you have all that, Google will work its magic.
It also has to be in stock, the major one.
We can do a whole podcast about how to deal with a shopping feed. I know it's easier said than done.
Yeah, I mean, let me just say so. I think a lot of the platforms, like the well-known platforms, I'm talking Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, they've all done pretty well now. As long as you have good data in your product catalog, they do a great job for outputting the XML feed that's needed, right?
I got a question for both of you. Like, which shopping feed extension or plugin for Shopify, BigCommerce, or let's say WooCommerce, like which one works better overall? Like you had a better experience just getting it to work. I mean, I'm familiar with WooCommerce and I've had my challenges with that. I'm interested to know, like, what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I could take it first. Shopify's is built in. It's natively on the application. And again, look, it's at the end of the day, it's very straightforward. It's just a bunch of parameters for a product catalog is what it comes down to. Like Austin said, it's title, description, price, availability, dimensions. As long as you have all that data fed in there, a feed is a feed.
Well, I think with WooCommerce, you have to map the inputs. So you have to pick which one. So it's a little more like they have it, but you have the ability to change, to other things. And I think that's where it becomes more of an advanced issue versus someone that just, has novice or beginner kind of level skills. They can actually set up a feed better in Shopify, I think, than WooCommerce in general.
This was like pretty well built out of the box. I mean, we use it for a few customers.
Yeah, it's okay, but it's still a plugin that was built by the plugin that's in there. WooCommerce, where you buy it at WooCommerce, is still built and managed by a third party developer. It's not like in the core code, let's say like Shopify.
So I know. Like, what's up? What, like, are you saying you've had issues with it?
Yeah, I've had definitely some issues with it. Stuff being in stock that was in stock, but for whatever reason showing out of stock in Google. There's I've had just phantom kind of stuff to deal with. And this is a store that had 30,000 SKUs, and it's a lot. It's a rare bookstore, so it just has a little bit of intricacy that I think is just more. It was a little more difficult to find all the little issues and map and correct. So we spent a great deal of time. It started out with, let's say, only 2,000 products available in the shopping feed. We had to do a ton of like just figuring out why this data is not here. And they did have some of their own, custom fields and stuff too that I think were in the way. So it's just, it was kind of rough. It wasn't an easy thing. And we got it all down now to about 2,000 SKUs only out of the 32,000 that are not, it's just, I felt like I'm just wondering if you've had issues with Shopify the same way, or it's like, no, every single product just had no problem coming in. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah, I don't know.
I would say Shopify. Sorry to cut you off, Carla, but I mean, my experience. I mean, you guys are both more developer oriented than I am. I would say Shopify, and I would compare it to like maybe if you're running on a Mac computer, you don't really have to worry about booting up and viruses. And this, it's just kind of you're running on a Mac. It's the software matches the hardware, and you're good to go. It's kind of when I compare Shopify and then going to like a WooCommerce or Magento, you're kind of more on like a Windows
That's the
machine
PC guy.
where you kind of have to, you got to understand, technology. And if something goes wrong with
Yeah.
your Windows computer, you got to learn how to troubleshoot it and go back and forth and have a lot of patience. And you know what? If you do and you get it right, those WooCommerce Magento feeds will probably be a lot better than your Shopify kind of out of the box stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It just takes a little longer to get there. I still rather own my stuff. That's why I'm a big open source advocate, but it's just kind of wondering if that's one of the, I would say, selling points of how Shopify works a little bit better.
Yeah, the biggest challenge I've always seen is missing attributes. There's always some product that's missing something, right? And Google does a good job of parsing the feed, so it'll always output like what's wrong. That's pretty much the only challenges I've ever run into is just not having a well-structured feed because there's product data missing.
Well, another issue I always run into is the shipping and zones and carriers and things like that. I mean, you could spend weeks trying to figure that out. And we have, and still don't
I
100%
did
have it figured
manual.
out.
I just did a manual shipping. At one point, it's just I tell the client, let's do your manual shipping rate on the Shopify or the shopping feed. If you try to been there real time, like if you have a real time shipping rates from FedEx and trying to have that work with Google, it was a constant problem, and they'd stop because it wouldn't add up to what it pulled at one particular time versus what it shows now on the site. So yeah, that is definitely a problem.
It's huge because then your product goes down and gets disapproved. They're like, oh, it's not
Yeah.
matching. Well, disapproved. And then you're kind of going back and forth, back and forth. And
Yeah.
it could be a nightmare.
It's a whole
It's
nother
definitely not easy.
level. I call it the black vortex of hell. Another one for Google for the win.
As in general.
Yeah.
I mean, every system is glitchy. Nothing runs perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? If you get it right and somebody's searching for your product, you're going to get that high intent search and that click. And, it's the most qualified traffic that you can get if you are running on an e-commerce platform and you want traffic back to your website.
And Austin, can you break down the pricing structure for Google Shopping? Is there a free version? Is there not a free version?
Yeah. I mean, the good thing, I don't know how long ago they did it, maybe a few years back, they give you free impressions. So Google kind of tried to duplicate what Amazon is like a marketplace where you can kind of go in, and once you click a product or you go into Google Shopping, it has its own module and you can see all kinds of products and categories and things like that. And that's where Google kind of feeds you some free impressions so you don't have to pay for once they're in their marketplace. And I've seen a lot of different clients that get a ton of impressions and a ton of clicks and free clicks and from that. So that's why it's always important to have that up, just so you can get the free traffic. On the paid side, it's an auction. Depending on the category you're in and what you're selling, it's, sometimes that auction, depending on what your metrics look like, of your lifetime value, or if you're just a one-off, just trying to arbitrage that click off, one sale, sometimes the auction is pricing is not going to work for you because there's just large 800-pound gorillas in there competing against you.
I still find Google Shopping, though, one of the best CPA, cost per acquisition channels in Google. Like if you have a good feed, it still, to me, converts a lot better than trying to go after a broad term. It just
It's high
doesn't.
intent. I mean, it's high intent.
Yeah,
That's the beauty of it, right? You know what that customer is looking for. They're being very specific.
yeah, and they're
So
actually
let's
clicking shopping, so they're like
correct. Yeah. Well, you
shopping.
don't have to do that, right? I mean, Google will recognize that your search query might be related to a shopping experience, so they'll show that on the organic or the main SERPs, right? If you want to
Yeah,
go into more detail that or look up more products, you can go into the search tab. But again, if you're searching for blue socks, you're probably not going to Wikipedia to learn more about blue socks. You're most likely looking to buy blue socks, right?
and I think the big elephant in the room is Amazon too. So like before, you used to be able to sell a lot more product on your website. Now it's like, you're competing not only with yourself, on Amazon, you're competing with Amazon, and most of the people are, buying your intent's going to be, I say, like, that's the big elephant in the room. So it's hard. E-commerce, when I look at people going and advertising for a website, for their website and trying to get sales directly on that website, it's more of them trying to acquire a customer versus making money. And I
Yeah.
try to tell people, like, you're going to make money off maybe the third sale or the fourth sale or the second sale, but it's never like they always think I'm going to start making money right away. And that's always another hard kind of sell to them to
Well,
say no, that you got,
all right, guys. So
but
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Austin.
I was going to say just an interesting story. I don't know if you know how Amazon became Amazon. When Mr. Bezos was in his garage selling books, he used Google shopping ads and Google search to arbitrage the traffic back to Amazon.
yeah,
So that's
yeah.
really how he created Amazon, was on the back of Google.
The story where the big picture was already there, but they just started with books because I guess like they were easy to house. It was easy to track inventory. They were easy to ship. It was like a good product to start on ecom because of all those different characteristics. And that's sort of what gave them all the intelligence on logistic and warehousing and getting it to the consumer.
Well,
Yeah.
when people didn't know about Amazon, they wouldn't search for that book on Google, and Amazon had an ad, and they just clicked on the Amazon ad and then bought through it. And
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, I know what you're saying. But look, every giant in technology is somehow interconnected. They always compete against each other in one way, shape, or form, right?
In 2008, when Amazon pulled all their advertising from Google, Google lost 2% of the revenue.
Wow.
Like this is a lot. They basically caved to all Amazon's demands like 6 months later after that. And Amazon's like, yeah, you're going to give us special treatment. Anyway.
All right. We're gonna wrap up. Let's talk about tracking and reporting, right? Because this is all great. All these different methods or avenues of getting traffic and conversions sounds great, but ultimately, how do you know what's tracking? Give us like the 30-second version of what you should have in place in order to track conversions and all these metrics. And then Austin, I'll let you answer that as well.
Basically, you want to have server-side tracking. So that's storing your visitor information data. That's going to be storing their name, what they clicked on, what they did, what they bought, all that information that a platform can then use to find similar users. You're going to have all that UTM data tracked, not just campaign or keyword and having a link. You really have to go deeper dive into the UTM data and have timing, last, first, everything, about that customer. That will also help you as an additional layer to help with the tracking. And then, of course, the reporting of it. You have to use several different platforms and try to track all these different elements. And we've been even building, I'd say, more proprietary kind of report dashboards based off of the information we download with all that. Because I feel like, using Looker and those type of places, they might not have a particular report. To give you a perfect example, if you have multiple locations that are close together in your local business, you might not realize that one campaign is getting more of the leads than the other location. So you have to figure that out through the UTM data and doing, let's say, a custom report. You'll be able to know which locations are sucking up which leads more. And then that's how you can kind of do that. But that's my take real quick on it.
Austin, but you, I'm gonna have a big myth question I want you guys both to answer. But go ahead, Austin. What are your thoughts in terms of tracking and conversion? Give us like some good use cases of what e-com brands should be using.
Well, I guess it really goes back to the platform they use, like their CMS, whether it's Shopify or WooCommerce, and then where you're storing that data, like Judd said, whether they're stored in another database or it's stored on a Google Sheet or wherever it's stored, and then pulling that data into a dashboard, whether it's a Looker Studio or using another tool. But for me, we've never been able to say, okay, here's a template, and that template works for each client. There's always different kinds of variables and touch points and different medias and mediums and things like that. So it's very customized. From what I've seen in my experience is the reporting always has to be customized to the KPIs that you're tracking. And we kind of do it a little bit more rudimentary, I would say, than Judd kind of geeks out on. We do a lot of let's just send the data to a Google Sheet, make sure it's formatted correctly, and we're tracking the correct KPIs and the correct metrics. And then we make it look more sexy and porting that data through Google Looker Studio. And that's kind of a liver dashboard that the client can view.
Cool. All right, guys. And I have one big question for both of you. This is something that comes up all the time, right? And I want to hear both takes on this. And Judd, I kind of know what yours is going to be already because I know you too well. But okay, so here he goes. Do you guys think that your phone is actually listening to you? And the reason I ask that is, why is it that every time you talk about a product or you mention a product, it shows up on one of your feeds? So Judd, I'll start with you. You actually
Go ahead.
Start with me. Oh,
yeah, no, Judd, I start with you.
Yeah. Let me say this. I say that the phone has been listening to you probably since it's been a smartphone.
Yep.
And I think Meta's been listening to you since they came out with Messenger. And I don't know how many years back that was.
So we're not talking about Messenger. I'm just talking about, we're talking about red shoes. And I go on Instagram and I see an ad for red shoes.
So you guys realize... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say 100% yes. And I'll take it a step further. Not even listening to you, but they know what your type, like if you're commenting and you're on different ads.
We're not commenting. It's just you and I talking, right?
Yes.
You think, okay, so you think that Meta is actively listening through the mic on your phone, right? And constantly transcribing all this data and feeding it back to their database.
Yes. Now Meta, I would say all the
That was for Meta, TikTok, and Google. You guys are telling me.
Didn't you guys hear a story a long time ago that devices were being sent out by Amazon that literally were sent to certain people that the government wanted to track? So they would go and buy it. And if that one popped up on the list, Amazon would send them the actual device that the government put tracking in. If you don't believe that you're being tracked by everybody and anybody now, that's happening. I don't care what privacy laws they put in place.
Well, I mean,
they still know.
Yes.
They still know.
All right. So I'm not sure who they is, but my question is very specific. Whether we want to get into conspiracy theories about the government, that's a different topic. I'm just talking about, I'm asking a very specific question. Austin, you're telling me yes, and I'm assuming, Joe, you're going to say yes as well.
Yes.
So you guys feel like your Amazon devices are constantly listening to you, and
Absolutely.
Instagram is constantly listening to you, and so is Google. So
Yep.
let me ask you this then. If I say that I'm looking to buy red shoes, if I go on all these platforms, I'm going to get ads now for red shoes, right? If this is true.
Just got red shoes on my phone. No, I'm joking, but I definitely think so. Absolutely. It happens all the time. Even my wife and I literally will talk about something and she'll be on Instagram or even me. And I'm like, honey, we just talked about that. And I'll show it to her.
Right. Now, does
it happens all the time.
Let me ask you this though. Does it happen on every platform?
I don't know. I would say the major ones.
Do they bid against each other in the background and say, hey guys, I'm taking this one. Don't show your ads. I'm going to take this one.
Probably. That's where the conspiracy starts. They're all owned by the same people.
All right. I know that's always a hot topic. That's right up there with the religion and politics.
You left it for the end, so I wouldn't be able to say much. I see what you did there.
Yeah. Carlos, what's your take?
Do you really want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
3 minutes.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we have enough time for this. Guys, here's the thing. And I mean, I can take this in a lot of different ways, but we're bombarded by ads all day long. you see millions of ads each day, like each day. Not millions, but probably thousands, right? And you're just not conscious about some of these ads, is what happens. I'll give you another example. Who's bought a car recently? Austin, have you bought a car recently?
Yeah, a few years back.
A few years ago, what is it? You don't have a pickup truck, right?
Yeah.
What kind of pickup truck is it?
A GMC.
When you bought that pickup truck, how many more of those trucks did you see on the road?
I know where you're going.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how many I saw.
Tony Robbins.
How many GMC pickup trucks I saw last month? 0. Although I've probably seen 100 of them, my brain just didn't register it.
Wow. Okay.
Anyway, guys, that's just my take on it. That's all. It's a fun topic. It's a really fun topic, I feel like. Because they're just so damn good. Everybody's convinced they're listening to us. So yeah, devices are always listening, right? They're always listening for a trigger word so they can start recording or listening to you actively. I don't think there's like these huge data centers that are just constantly crunching everybody's conversations 24/7.
I mean, they're billion-dollar companies. You'd think that they don't have huge data centers doing this. I mean, they're in the business to make money and sell that information back to advertisers like your clients, Carlos.
Listen, it could be.
Speaking of client, we got to wrap this up. I got to go.
Austin, thanks for being part of the podcast. Judd, we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Guys, have a good day.
Bye.